News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update. Well, with half of Americans expressing high levels of personal satisfaction, Wallet Hub has unveiled its annual report on the 2023 happiest states in America. The study, which examines 30 key indicators of happiness, has crowned Utah as the happiest state in the nation. Wallet Hub's methodology for determining happiness levels encompassed a comprehensive analysis of all 50 states. Key indicators assessed included depression rates, the share of adults feeling productive, income growth, unemployment rates, and other factors. Utah emerged as the frontrunner, claiming the title of the happiest state in America based on the following key indicators. 16th in adequate sleep rate. Utahns appeared to be getting enough restful sleep, contributing to overall happiness. 4th in percentage of civilian labor force unemployed 15 weeks or longer. A low unemployment rate indicates job stability and financial security. 1st in number of work hours, as that indicates Utah residents work hard, which may contribute to their overall happiness. And another factor, 1st in volunteer rate. High rates of volunteerism indicate a strong sense of community and purpose. Now, Idaho ranked 9th in the overall standings, finishing 2nd in community and environment, 6th in work environment, and 30th in emotional and physical well-being. Specifically, Idaho is tied for 4th lowest in long-term unemployment rate and 4th in income growth. More details about the study and some of the ingredients to sustaining a happy life, according to national experts, can be found at CashValleyDaily.com. KBNU News Time is 4:05. KBNU weather for tonight. Partly cloudy skies, low around 50, and then a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon on Wednesday. Partly cloudy, around 80 for the high. Back to mostly sunny on Thursday and upper 70s. It's been into the low 80s. In fact, it's been 81 so far. It's 80 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Whole Tree Care. If your trees and shrubs are growing like crazy and blocking your view or posing a potential hazard, call Whole Tree Care. They trim, shape, and remove trees. Call 435-760-6587. There are some major changes going on at Beaver Mountain Ski Resort. The owners are making improvements to their lodges during this past spring and summer to accommodate the growth in patronage. The Seeholzer family is building a 24,000-square-foot, two-story ski lodge to replace their current day-use ski building, built sometime in the 1950s. It may be the biggest investment in the resort since Harold Seeholzer stuck an old car motor up the hill at Beaver Mountain and fashioned a rope tow to it in 1936 so his friends and family could ski. Travis Seeholzer, the operations manager of the resort, said the new building will have a cafe, a retail ski space, restrooms, and a ski school area that will be separate from the rental shop. There will be a deck over the ski school where parents or grandparents can watch their students as they leave the school and move on to the hill. He said the ticket office was built sometime in the 1940s and some of the buildings built in the 1950s. Their ski population has doubled in the last 6 to 7 years, and they have needed to upgrade their facilities. The current ticket office is a small building and home to a ski school, and that building has a lot of history. They think the original ticket office will be in operation until next year. Then when the new construction is completed, it will go away. They hope to have everything completed in the fall of 2024, including the cafe or coffee shop with pizza, sandwiches, and soups. And Layton police officers were dispatched to a mobile home park after a woman called to say her son had been kidnapped. On September 9th, the woman told police her son, described only as KH, in a probable cause statement, had texted her to say he had been taken to a home at Mountain View Estates Mobile Home Park. Upon arrival, officers made contact with multiple individuals inside the trailer, including KH. KH appeared to be in distress and asked officers to put him in handcuffs and escort him off the property. After exiting the trailer, KH told officers he had borrowed money from two individuals, 35-year-old Eli Burns and 27-year-old Tessa Maldonado, to support a controlled substance abuse habit. KH told officers Burns and Maldonado forced him to share his location via the global positioning system on his cellular phone so they could come and get their money. KH did not have the money or pills that he owed them and was told to get inside their vehicle. Maldonado was arrested and booked into jail on suspicion of first-degree felony, aggravated kidnapping, and several drug-related misdemeanors. Burns was charged with first-degree aggravated kidnapping and a third-degree felony of possession of a dangerous weapon by a restricted person. Both Maldonado and Burns were ordered to be held without bail. KVNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Taking news to an all-new level. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Attention lovers of the Latin culture. Saturday, September 16th, Center Street in Logan will be the epicenter celebration for the Latino Festival. A day filled with joy, music, and cultural dances. A parade that marches down Center Street and fun music. Come hungry, as we have an impressive selection of Latin flavors. And don't forget to visit our vendor booths, where you can take home a piece of Latin culture. This year's Latino Festival is made possible by WCF Insurance, offering insurance solutions for businesses of all sizes and committed to strengthening the communities we serve. Members First Credit Union, our name says it all. And at Members First Credit Union, Community Matters. Gosner Foods, enjoy starting wages between $16 and $19 per hour. Quarterly bonuses and free health insurance. Inquire at GosnerCareers.com. This year's Latino Festival is Saturday, September 16th on Center Street in Logan. The celebration gets underway at 4.
You're invited to celebrate the 234th birthday of the U.S. Constitution on Friday, September 15th. Enjoy a delicious Dutch oven dinner and hear from Dr. Scott Bradley, who will speak on the U.S. Constitution, America's Harvest of Liberty. A portion of your ticket will go to support candidates committed to preserving the Constitution and your liberty. Buy your ticket today at cashgop.com. That's cashgop.com. See you there.
For more than a century, AM radio has evolved to meet the needs of our community. More than 80 million listeners depend on AM radio each month. AM radio is also the backbone of the emergency alert system, which keeps us safe in dangerous times. It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I almost sneezed at the start of the show there. It is Tuesday, August 12th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio as well. You're welcome to join us. 753-5868. A big ribbon-cutting ceremony announced by Mayor Holly Daines just a few minutes ago This is a long, long, long time coming. I don't know how many years Logan City debated the future of Center Block in downtown. It was then derailed by a couple of business owners wanting to hang on to their couple of parking spots, were objecting to a plan that included a parking plaza, which I still think was probably a good idea, but they came up with a plan that went a different route. There was then a years-long legal process that played out over who actually had ownership of parking areas and Center Block. Anyway, long, complicated process, and all of that actually was preceded by years of the city council just discussing it and weighing various plans. Logan City Mayor Holly Daines, in her first term, got the ball rolling, and the Emporium building finally came down. And then, as of an announcement again coming just a few minutes ago, everyone is invited to a ribbon-cutting event for the Logan City Center Block Plaza. They're going to have a name for this. This is going to be the Carol and Jim Laub Plaza. And the Laub family, longtime benefactors and philanthropists here in Cache Valley in various ways.
Especially up at Utah State.
Yeah.
USU Athletics.
Quite a few donations to USU in various ways over the years. But they did make a big donation to this project to make it possible for the city to afford to do this. In fact, this has been one of the most impressive projects to watch on that front, because the amount of money that's been raised through private donors, through fundraising in general, and through granting where possible through the state, and even, I believe, a federal grant, or no, that might have been for the library. Anyway, this is officially happening. The Center Block Plaza ribbon-cutting event will take place September 23rd, and will coincide with the launch of the Great Pumpkin Festival that will also be held that same day. I'm not sure if that is in the exact same location or not, but this is finally done. The ribbon-cutting ceremony will happen at 11 a.m., September 23rd, and if you've driven past and taken a look, you can really see, what it's not finished, but you can see what the finished product is going to look like. I think it's a huge positive change for downtown. It just opens up an area of downtown, literally, but also opens it up for potential events where there was just really no great space, outdoor events, live music, plans for, some sort of temporary ice rink location that can happen there in the wintertime, and then just a nice outdoor plaza area for people to walk through while they're shopping downtown. So, again, 11 a.m. the ribbon cutting happens, and the downtown Center Block Plaza is officially open to the public. And then the Pumpkin Festival kicks off. Same thing. This is happening in the plaza and on Center Street in general. And this will be starting off with a Center Street giant family scavenger hunt. That actually runs throughout the day. Prodigy Brewing will have a beer garden. Logan City Library is going to have a booth there where they'll be doing outdoor story time events for kids. Pumpkin decorating contests, Utah Theater cartoons will be happening at the Utah Theater. That runs throughout the day from noon to about 4. And then at 5 p.m. at the Utah Theater, a screening of Nightmare Before Christmas. This is all free, by the way. And then 5 to 7 p.m., they are closing off the street for dancing and dining. So live music and food there on Center Street. So very cool stuff. And then, of course, all this will be under the umbrella of a giant pumpkin contest. It is a giant pumpkin festival. So throughout the day in the morning, the youth competition, the large pumpkin weighing competition will happen. And then 11:30, there is a specialty produce presentation and display that will happen. And then from noon to 4, the official giant pumpkin weigh-off gets underway. And then I thought this was kind of cool. After that, the public will be invited to photo ops like they do at the Comic-Cons. photo ops with the giant pumpkins. So I think this is pretty cool. And then 4:30, the Center Street Giant Pumpkin winner will be announced. And then, again, throughout the night, 5 to 7, dancing and dining there on Center Street. This is a cool idea, I think.
So now, are these pumpkins, are they grown in Cache Valley? Or
I'm not sure. I would assume at least a lot of them are, but I know some of the previous winners of giant pumpkin competitions have come from Box Elder County. Now, that's at the State Fair and the Southeast Idaho State Fair. I know some competitors from that region that have entered other competitions, but I'm guessing these are primarily Cache Valley residents. It's a cool idea, combining the two, again, with the ribbon cutting, kicking off in the morning at 11 a.m. with the ribbon cutting and the official public opening of, it's open now. It's an open-air plaza, but the official public open of the Center Block Plaza that is finally finished, and then at the same time, this giant pumpkin festival getting underway. So a long list of fun events for this. I like what I see. I'm not a Logan resident, so it's maybe easier for me to sit back and see all this happening and be less concerned about the cost or the long-term effect on the city's budget, things like that. But I feel like all this stuff that's been happening in Logan, from the that stretch of Main Street that was the thorn in everyone's side, the blight block, as it was known for a while, changes there, changes on Center Block. The new library, which is very, very quickly taking shape, and more that's happening in Logan. We also have at the north end of town the changes proposed to the Cache Valley Mall area. I think this is all good stuff. It is expensive stuff. Again, with the Center Block, I've been impressed with how the city has gotten very creative with funding that, and how many donors have stepped up with some sometimes very large donations. To the tune of a couple $1 million, I think, that have been donated to offset more than half of the costs of this project. And I'm excited to see it come to an end. And I was a long-time proponent of tearing down. I know there are some still mad about it. I'm a long-time proponent of tearing down that downtown mall. It was a thing for a while in the late 70s, early 80s to build these malls. But they were popular for a decade or so, and then that just quickly changed, and even large cities with much more people in them, like Salt Lake, did away with the Crossroads Mall. Remember that multi-story mall?
Oh yeah,
in downtown, scary escalators. It was like someone turned a switch, and suddenly that was a ghost town, and it wasn't. People didn't want to deal with the parking issue and things like that. And now you see the popularity of the more open air City Creek Plaza. It's basically a mall without the multi-story structure. It's occupying a full block spread out instead with open air walkways in between. That type of thing works in a downtown, and that's Logan moving in that direction, I think, with this plaza, with connecting some of these other off Center Street blocks and making them more of a part of downtown. Some of the things they've done to connect, walkways, trails, and sidewalks as well from one side of the street to the other. All of this said, and we've discussed this before with the mayor, with city planners before, every time I bring this up, in fact, we've got a couple of people texting with us already, everyone says, there needs to be a better way across Main Street, whether you're going downtown for the Eccles, whether you're going downtown for, just a night out and something to eat, grabbing a movie at the Utah Theater, just going to do some retail shopping, whatever it is, especially on the weekends. Oftentimes parking, on the east side of Main Street is your only option. And people saying, getting across that can just be a harrowing experience sometimes. The problem is, well, two problems. Again, it's UDOT's road. Logan City doesn't really get to decide. The other problem is, what do you do? The most obvious solution is, some sort of pedestrian walkway. But that's going to have to be very high enough to accommodate, freight traffic through downtown Logan, which there's a lot of every day. And it's also, going to have to be in some way ADA compliant, meaning it may have to have some sort of elevator fixture or feature or something like that. That would be very costly. I don't know what else you would do. I don't know if a tunnel is an option. One listener here saying, this is great, but we need a tunnel across Main Street. There is going to be eventually a tunnel at the south end of town near the Y, where people will be able to go under the street to cross from east to west. I don't know if that's an option at that location in downtown, if you were to do that at Center Street or First North, where it's been proposed by residents for years. I don't know. But I do agree. I think, this is all great for downtown. I think the next battle on this front, which hopefully doesn't take another 30 years like some of these projects have, is that dealing with parking in downtown in some way. And I do think that residents also need to start considering, alternate ways to get downtown. And that's where CVTD can come in. There are great places to park in Logan on a weekend, great places. But they're sometimes several blocks from downtown. And for people, to be able to maybe catch a bus or even, something from CVTD that functions a little bit more like a downtown streetcar, I think would be a huge boost to downtown activity and to the businesses down there. So I think there are options. Either way, again, I'm excited at what I see, and I'm really excited to see this announcement today that the official ribbon cutting for the downtown Center Block Plaza, which will be named at that time the Carol and Jim Laub Plaza. That is happening at 11 a.m. September 23rd. And at the same time, on Center Street and in the plaza there itself, the Great Pumpkin Festival of 2023 will get underway, a full day of events for the whole family. So check it out. I've posted a link to the flyer sent out from Logan City on our Facebook page, and we'll be back right after this.
Dr. Josh Red, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
If you have low thyroid and you're taking thyroid medication, the biggest question you should ask yourself is what's causing my low thyroid specifically? If you don't know the answer to that question, it's important to call us. At Red River, we identified triggers that will cause the low thyroid to begin with. One of the most common causes of low thyroid is a disease called Hashimoto's disease. This is an autoimmune disease that is a lot more complicated than just a primary thyroid issue. This is why people will be on thyroid hormone but still feel little to no improvement because nothing's being done to address the bigger, more complicated problem, which is Hashimoto's. If you have low thyroid or you have an autoimmune disease and you're on medication and still don't feel well, call Red River.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. Government debt levels in the U.S. and elsewhere are soaring to record levels. Here are the implications, like future downturns becoming more severe. Also, employees have lost much of the leverage they've had lately. We'll explain how to get a raise when it's become harder to get one, and what to know about traveling on a smaller, low-budget airline. Wednesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. 753-5868. What do you think of all the changes happening in Logan? It's a lot, you know. I think it's a positive lot. I think what's happening in downtown's great. I think that will set Logan for the next 20, 30, 40 years for a vibrant downtown. And then, you know, as is the way of things, we'll probably, with a different city council, different mayor, we'll probably be having these same debates again about what's changing that time 20, 30, 40 years from now. But This is what cities have to do. There is a benefit to it. It's not all about the downtown, but downtowns are kind of, especially for one-time visitors, people just coming through, downtowns are sort of the face of your city. Downtowns also attract a lot of economic activity in general. And so much so that some cities in Utah have really gone into the red, trying to reinvent their downtowns. Ogden City having one heck of a time of it. I know, they took part of Ogden's problem is what is downtown. That's a little blurrier in Ogden. 25th Street is obviously considered by many downtown in Ogden, but that's also a street full of mainly restaurants and bars, and a few retail shops and a coffee shop and things like that.
That's kind of known as the cool street, I guess.
And it's a fun street. If you've ever gone down in the wintertime when they're having the light festival there on the square as well, it's a fun street to be on for a night. Bundle up, though. It gets a little windy out of the canyon there down 25th Street at nights. But there's also the area where now there's the big Megaplex Theater and a bunch of restaurants and apartment buildings above those restaurants in some locations. And the big plan was that would be sort of an extension of downtown. It would also kind of rope in the permanent ballpark area that they have there for the Ogden Raptors. And they just struggle with making that happen. They're able to get new stuff in there, and it's a popular happening place for a long time. But if you've been there recently, it's already just 10 years later starting to sort of fall into it's a lot emptier and a lot less happening there already. So that's a challenge, and that could be the case with Logan's downtown. All of this work, all of this planning, all of this forecasting as much as you can what people are going to want, and then 10 years from now, just none of it works. It's a risk, it's a possibility, and all of it happening, with taxpayer money. But I don't see that with the changes happening in Logan. I think that what you're going to see is this is going to be now a downtown, again, with some additional problems to still be solved. I think there's need for more housing, dense housing near downtown, but the city's working on that. I think there is also going to be a need to deal with traffic and parking somehow. I personally would like to see the store owners on Center Street from Main Street to First East or First West at least. I would personally like to go out and convince them all that a permanently closed, walkable Center Street is far more beneficial to all of their businesses, even the theaters, than those 2 or 3 parking spots in front of their store windows. That's going to be a hard sell. But I really believe if you read the data on walkable cities and what they're doing economic activity wise in other parts of Utah, I really think that's something that should still be considered, closing off Center Street to car traffic permanently. But, those are conversations still yet to be had. I think overall the plans that are in place now, the Center Block Plaza, the new library, dealing with some of the blight on the 3rd North block there, bringing some more housing in on the back side of First South, and just in general, a complete revamp and updating of downtown that's happened all around this. I think the next couple of decades in downtown Logan are going to be a good time, not just for the business owners, but for all of us. So, again, the ribbon cutting happened for the downtown plaza, the Carol and Jim Lobb Plaza, as it will be named, happens September 23rd, and that same time at 11 a.m. after the ribbon cutting, the Great Pumpkin Festival kicks off all day long that same day in downtown Logan. So I think it's pretty exciting times. What do you think, though? I know residents are concerned about the effect this might have on the budget, what it means, how much has been spent. Is it too much change all at once? I've heard people say or ask. You have the redevelopment of the mall proposal happening at the same time. What do you think? 753-5868. Would love to hear from Logan residents on this. We'll be back after the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:32, and the news is brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Women in 3 states are challenging strict abortion laws that went into effect after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last year. 2 state lawsuits were filed today in Idaho and Tennessee after women were denied care despite having what they said were harrowing pregnancy complications. A woman in Oklahoma filed a federal complaint after being denied an abortion despite what she said was a dangerous and non-viable pregnancy. The Center for Reproductive Rights is representing the plaintiffs. The group filed a similar lawsuit earlier this year in Texas that was widely considered a model for the current legal action. A man attempting to complete a rim-to-rim hike at the Grand Canyon died over the weekend, according to the National Park Service. On Saturday, the 55-year-old Virginia man was hiking from the south to north rim on the North Kaibab Trail in a single day when he became unresponsive about a mile south of the Cottonwood Campground. Bystanders initiated CPR before rescue crews could arrive. National Park Service search and rescue personnel responded via helicopter and were unsuccessful in attempts to resuscitate the hiker, later identified as Ranjith Varma of Manassas, Virginia. Park officials warned that exposed parts of the trail can reach over 120 degrees Fahrenheit and advise against hiking the inner canyon during midday hours. An investigation into Varma's death is currently underway and being conducted by the National Park Service and local medical examiner. And Democrats in Congress are pushing for a new round of money to keep the nation's child care industry afloat, saying thousands of providers are at risk of closing when their federal pandemic relief runs out this month. Legislation being introduced in both chambers Wednesday would provide $16 billion a year over the next 5 years, awarded as grants to help programs cover everyday costs. It's intended to replace $24 billion in relief that was passed in the American Rescue Plan and is scheduled to expire September 30th. Without a new lifeline, child care programs serving millions of families are expected to close or increase prices. But without Republican support, the bill faces an uphill battle in Congress. Utah, Montana, Arkansas, Virginia, West Virginia, and Washington, D.C. are at risk of seeing their licensed programs close. In total, the programs in jeopardy serve about 3.2 million children. KBNU News Time is 4:35.
Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology cares about you and your hearing. Dr. Paul Danes has always called Cache Valley home and cares about its people. And Dr. Danes offers state-of-the-art equipment, allowing him to provide the best service and care possible when it comes to your hearing. So if your hearing isn't what it used to be, give Dr. Danes a call at 753-HEAR or visit CacheValleyHearing.com to see what they can do for you.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Roll up your sleeve. It's time for another COVID booster. CDC Director Dr. Mandy Cohen signing off on the latest ones from Pfizer and Moderna, which should be available later this week. She's recommending that everyone 6 months and older get one. The top Republican in the Senate sidestepped questions today on House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's decision to open an impeachment inquiry into President Biden.
Well, I think the best advice for the Senate is to do our job, and we'll see how this plays out later.
Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. A search continues in Pennsylvania for escaped murderer Daniello Cavalcante for the 13th day in a row. Governor Josh Shapiro.
We do feel like we've got this suspect contained in an area. We're putting all of our resources on it, all of our assets.
Cavalcante has reportedly stolen a .22 caliber rifle with a scope and a flashlight. Emergency workers have uncovered more than 1,500 bodies so far from flooding in eastern Libya. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
KBNU weather for tonight, mostly clear skies, low around 50, and then a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon on Wednesday, partly cloudy, around 80 for the high. Slight chance of rain showers late Wednesday night, back to mostly sunny, upper 70s on Thursday. It's been to 81. Right now it's 80 degrees at KVNU. Stop by Napa Auto Parts during the semi-annual Napa Gold Filter sale going on through this Friday. You can't beat their prices on oil. More truckloads on the way. Get Chevron Dello 15-weight 40 oil, $14.99 a gallon at your 5 locally owned Preston to Providence Napa Auto Parts stores. You can always get more news at CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Cheryl, bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of Jeff Olson and Edward Jones. Stocks lower ahead of U.S. inflation report. Equities were mostly lower on Tuesday as investors await the key CPI inflation report for the month of August. Expectations are for headline CPI inflation to move higher, while core inflation should move lower. The technology-heavy NASDAQ lagged the broader S&P 500 as Apple stock moved lower after unveiling new iPhone and watch models at higher price points. Meanwhile, Treasury yields remained steady ahead of the inflation report, with yields still hovering near the highs of this cycle. The U.S. 10-year Treasury yield is now around 4.27%, only slightly below its high of 4.34% reached in mid-August. In Edward Jones' view, yields should remain in the 3.5% to 4.5% range and may now be closer to the high end, particularly if the Fed is nearly done with its rate hiking cycle. The Dow closed down 18 points at 34,646. The NASDAQ closed down 144 points at 13,774. The S&P 500 closed down 26 points at 4,462. And in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 4.27%, lower by 0.01 percentage points. This has been today's financial market report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Jeff Olson, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 580 North Main in Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact our branch office at 435-787-8170. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Monster Trucks Nitro Tour will invade the Cache County Fairgrounds with two big shows, 1:30 and 7:30 p.m. this Saturday. Monster Trucks Freestyle Motocross and Jet Ambulance Meltdown. Plus all new Inflection Buster prices. VIP tickets inclusive pit party pass and the best seat. Get tickets at monstertrucktour.com or get them at the gate. Subject to service fees. For more info, go to monstertrucktour.com. Ride in a real monster truck. Kids get a free tour gift at the Saturday matinee show while supplies last. This Saturday, the Cache County Fairgrounds.
Clean it up and get it out this fall. Don't wait another winter. Let DD Auto and Salvage pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan want to pay you today. Search DD Auto and Salvage today or call 787-1204. That's 787-1204. See store for details.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Coming up at 5 o'clock, a story that is going to angry up your blood, to say the least. It did mine. Short version of this is all of us here in Utah might be on the hook for, believe it or not, a lawsuit that Rocky Mountain Power lost in Oregon. Lawsuits that are centered around, well, basically a claim of negligence, not turning the grid off in time in certain situations, leading to massive wildfires. At least one major, 100,000 acre plus fire in California that did take lives, and another in Oregon have been attributed to grid operators, power companies, not heeding the requests or warnings from the forest and state officials when they said, look, power needs to be off right now. And then they didn't do it. And so lawsuits were filed and they lost. And it's going to cost them millions. And some paperwork filed here in Utah shows that they plan to recover some of that costs from their users in other states, including all of us here. So we'll talk about how they can do that, what Utah laws allow this, actually, and their response once the Salt Lake Tribune found this paperwork had been filed earlier this year through a public records request. Thank you to the Salt Lake Tribune, let's say the least. So we'll talk about that coming up at the start of Hour 2, and of course we'll open the phone lines up. This was a story from a couple of weeks ago. There was a story that was noteworthy only, well, for two reasons. One, the legislation is interesting and does solve a significant problem, but one that is probably not burning on everyone's minds right now, which is what kinds of sunscreen you can get access to here in the United States. Simple version of this in other countries, more modern sunscreens that last longer, are more effective, and are better for your skin and aren't as dangerous, absorbing some of those chemicals into your skin, are available. In the United States, they aren't, and it's been a big mystery why. The FDA has come up with some pretty Swiss cheese reasons for that. But the belief is it just hasn't been a high priority for regulators to approve some of these mineral sunscreens, things that are less sticky and greasy, basically. So the news story last week was noteworthy on that front, but it was also noteworthy because the two individuals who are going to push legislation to force the FDA to kind of get their act together on sunscreen here in the United States, one of the most progressive representatives in Congress and one of the most conservative are teaming up. Utah's own Senator Mike Lee is teaming up with AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, her full name, but known as AOC, which is also her Twitter handle, where she has millions of followers. The two are teaming up on legislation to force the FDA to deal with this, or at least provide a significant explanation. That was a cool story. Less cool. Today, Andy Larson, who is a statistician here in Utah and writes a regular column at the Salt Lake Tribune, he went through some statistics when it comes to Utah having the highest melanoma rate in the United States, according to the CDC. Nationally, about 20 people per 100,000 are diagnosed with skin cancer every year. In Utah, it's more than double that, about 43 people per 100,000 every year in Utah diagnosed with skin cancer of some kind. I don't think you have to be a statistician or an expert on the human skin or any of those things to piece together why. We're probably outdoors more often than most other states. Also, we are, to put it bluntly, a very white state. Very white. So fairer skin, obviously, more susceptible to the harms of sun damage and potential melanoma, skin cancer. So Larson, though, decided because of this, because Utah has the highest rate of skin cancer per capita in the nation, and this story about Mike Lee and AOC teaming up to write legislation together to force the FDA to get into the 21st century when it comes to what sunscreens are available here in the U.S. as opposed to more modern and more effective sunscreens available overseas. Larson decided to break down some of the data that he could find on sunscreens in general. And this is interesting because we all know about SPF, right? Sun protection factor. And it basically means how much of the sun's rays are getting through. So SPF 30 means that about 1 in every 30 rays is actually making it to your skin. Decent protection. But it isn't enough. If you're going to be outside in direct sun on a beach for a long period of time, it's recommended you go above 30 significantly. But we also know that, when you get up into the difference between SPF 60 and an SPF 80, we've all been told is negligible. And Larson decided he wanted to look into this to see where exactly these thresholds are. He said that when it comes to SPF, look at it this way. It takes 1 minute for a section of skin to be reddened without sunscreen. That's would be a surprise to many people. That's with SPF 30. Without protection. 30 minutes to redden if SPF 30 is applied. So you can break that down basically and say, SPF 30 means one sun ray is getting through to your skin for every 30 blocked. And that basically is the difference between 1 minute of potential skin cancer or 30 minutes before potential skin cancer. Now, he points out, again, this is not actually how it works. This is how the numbers work, but it's a way to understand it. But he said where things got interesting is what he learned looking at the data about the tests themselves, where sunscreen is applied to skin at 2 milligrams per square inch. And in reality, he said he doesn't know anyone who uses that much sunscreen. So he tried to sort of illustrate this, and I won't go through that part because it gets pretty mathy and confusing. But suffice to say, 2 milligrams per square inch is not going to absorb into your skin very quickly. There's going to be a noticeable sunscreen cover over your skin. Most of us, myself included, rub that in. You rub the sunscreen on and you don't see it anymore, but it's there. Now, that is a lot of protection, and that's good. But he said to get the actual protection that the ratings imply, again, SPF 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, all that, you actually have to put a lot more on than most people do. He said also going through some of this and looking at some of the studies, one of his favorite studies was a study of a group of nude beachgoers, people who were frequenters of nude beaches here in the United States and in Europe. And they weighed the sunscreen bottles of 42 men, women, and children before and after a full-body sunscreen application. And then they crunched the numbers, and the researchers found that people were using about 0.5 milligrams per square inch. And again, to get the effects of the SPF, the sun protection factor, you need 2 milligrams per square inch. Another study said looked at people on 1-week vacations in Egypt and using the same method, weighing bottles of sunscreen as they went in and when they came out, estimated that they were using about 0.9 milligrams per square inch. Women were using less, 0.6. So researchers in these two studies teamed up. They got curious about application method and if it really mattered. And so they took these different groups of kids and had them use sunscreen differently. Some used like a roll-on sunscreen. Others, and by the way, they got 0.2 milligrams on themselves. So the roll-on, at least for children, not very effective. The squeeze bottles, the kids were getting 0.5. And the pump bottle, they were getting about 0.7 milligrams per square inch. So no matter what method of application or what bottle it was, people just weren't putting enough on. But Larson says if you tell people how much they really need to use to get the full effect of the SPF, if you're putting an SPF 50 on, if you show people how much 2 milligrams per square inch is, it seems ridiculous. It's a lot, and you would go through bottles so fast. That's a problem. Larson says the problem appears to be that SPF protection and application thickness have a very exponential relationship. In other words, if you use half as much sunscreen as you should, you're only getting the square root, not even half, the square root of that SPF. So making this real world numbers, if you're not putting enough SPF 30 on, you're walking around with SPF 5, which is barely any protection after just a few minutes in full sun if you are using too little. Larson says every study that he was able to find had a curious conclusion. Sunscreen use is correlated with increased sunburn. People feel more confident being out in the sun thanks to the sunscreen, even if it's spotty or thin. So his conclusion, again, none of us are putting enough of it on, but because we've put it on, we're staying in the sun longer. In the end, sunscreen might actually be contributing to... Now, this isn't a don't use sunscreen thing, and he's careful to point that out. He says, don't get me wrong. I am no way trying to imply that you are better off without sunscreen. That is not the case. There is no data to support that. There has never been a single study to conclude that. You are better off with sunscreen. But, he said, it might be encouraging you to stay in the sun longer, and you're probably not putting enough of it on when you use it in the first place. So, how do you make sure you get enough sunscreen anywhere? Larson wraps up his column linking to a paper suggested, for dermatology offices. This was research that was done for dermatologists. And what they suggest in that paper for dermatologists to recommend to their patients is something called the rule of nines. You have 11 zones on your body. They make up about 9% of your total skin. Those 11 areas, your head, neck, face, left arm, right arm, upper back, lower back, upper chest, lower stomach, upper left leg, upper right leg, lower left leg, and underfoot. Don't forget the lower right leg and foot. Each of those should get their own application of 2 full fingers of sunscreen, basically. You stick out 2 fingers, you squeeze a line of sunscreen from the palm to, your fingertips on each finger, both fingers. You have 2 fingers out, a line on each finger, and each zone should get that. So that's what you put from your knee down to your foot. That's what you put from your knee up to your thigh. That's what you put on your lower back, and that's what you put on your lower stomach. Then that's what you put on your chest, and what you put on your upper back, and then that's what you put on your neck, and then that's what you put on your face. That is a lot of that's like half a bottle of sunscreen. Every time you're going outside in the sun. Yeah. So, and finally, how do the spray sunscreens stack up? Larson says if you look at the data, they're just as effective as lotion sunscreens. But again, application is key. Just like with rub-on sunscreens, no one is putting enough of it on, and then it's making them confident to stay out in the sun longer, which is, actually exacerbating the problem they're meant to solve. With spray-on sunscreens, people are using them either too far away or too close to their body, which reduces their coverage. Never apply them even in a light wind because the majority of the protective elements are just blowing away. They're heavier. And the most effective way is just spraying the sunscreen, ironically, into your hand and then rubbing it on your skin, experts say. So this is some useful information. But again, Utah has the highest rate of skin cancer per capita in the nation. And Larson says every study he found concluded that SPF is an important factor, and the higher the better, especially if you're going to be out in the sun for a long time, say at a day at the beach. But if you're not putting enough of it on, you're doing it entirely wrong. SPF 30 becomes SPF 5 spread too thin over the skin. So use the 2-finger rule, he said, for all sections of your body. Knee to foot, knee to thigh, lower back, upper back, chest, stomach. These are all different regions, neck and face. And each region should get 2 fingerfuls, a strip on each finger, spread evenly across the region. We're all going to need to buy a lot more sunscreen. Again, that's about half a bottle per application. That's a lot.
Take out a loan.
Yeah.
And
so,
get that sunscreen.
That's right. So suddenly I'm a huge fan of this legislation that Mike Lee and AOC are working on, because their goal, again, is to get us more options in the United States, because there are sunscreens that are less greasy and sticky available in Europe that aren't approved by the FDA yet here in Utah, mineral-based. And Larson says with those types of sunscreen, too thin of an application doesn't reduce the effectiveness quite as much. Check it out. It was a fascinating column by statistician Andy Larson in the Salt Lake Tribune. I've linked to it on our Facebook page, and we'll be back right after this.
The advocates care about your cycling accident and have attorneys who are fellow riders. They understand the risks you face when you ride, and they want to see you get back on your bike and out on the road. If you were hit while enjoying a leisurely ride or training for the next big cycling race, the Advocates Injury Attorneys can help. We are available 24/7 and we don't get paid unless we win your case. Chat anytime at UtahAdvocates.com or call 801-355-5550 today. Cyclists deserve an advocate.
Get ready for the ultimate home improvement event of the season. The Logan Fall Home Show is back. Mark your calendars, September 15th and 16th at the Cache County Event Center. Discover unbeatable deals on all your home improvement projects and meet local remodeling experts under one roof. Admission is free, so bring your friends and family. Doors open Friday from noon to 8 p.m. and Saturday from 10 a.m. until 6. Visit LoganHomeshow.com for more details.
Ready to experience a new level of local transit? Well, with the new CDTD app, it's super simple for you to plan your trip to a T. With our interactive map, you can view bus stops closest to your location with real-time arrival information. You can mark your favorite stops, get alerts, set reminders, and much more. So, whether you're a seasoned pro or it's your first ride, get moving today with the new CDTD app.
Buy, build, and bank with your local financial experts, Bank of Utah, the two-time gold medal winning bank for Best of Northern Utah. With locations all over Cache Valley, Tremonton, Brigham City, and the state, Bank of Utah has a branch near you. Bank of Utah offers personal banking, mortgage and commercial lending, trust and investment services at all branches, and mortgage services on 2nd North. Bank of Utah remains committed to helping neighbors flourish because together we are Utah. Find out more at bankofutah.com. Member FDIC, NMLS number 422914.
Coming up in hour 2 of today's show, you, yes, you, all of Utahns actually, could be on the hook to pay off Rocky Mountain Power's costly lawsuit losses in other states where they have been found liable in wildfire situations for not cutting off the grid quickly enough. Oregon and California, the lawsuits trickling through the systems there. One that Rocky Mountain Power has already lost. A $13.5 billion settlement in one case. And paperwork, the Solid Tribune found, has been filed here in Utah to allow Rocky Mountain Power to offset paying that gigantic lawsuit fine through your power bills. We'll talk about it, how it's legal, and what state lawmakers are saying they might do to stop